Commander Tae-won Park stood at the observation deck of South Korea's military headquarters, eyes fixed on the massive ship that hovered silently above Seoul. For 5 days, the world had held its breath. News networks broadcast non-stop footage of the vessel, a metallic oval that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Any response to our signals?" Tae-won asked the communications officer. "Nothing yet, sir," replied Officer Do-hyun. "Wait, incoming transmission." The large screen flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Its body appeared crystalline, with light pulsing through intricate patterns beneath a translucent surface. "People of Earth," the being spoke in perfect Korean, though its mouth, if it had one, didn't move. "I am designated enlightened observer of the Galactic Concordat. We come with peaceful intent." Within hours, Tae-won found himself aboard a military transport headed to an emergency United Nations meeting. As head of South Korea's newly formed Extraterrestrial Response Division, he would join the international delegation selected to meet the aliens. The meeting took place in a hastily converted conference center in Geneva. 17 human representatives sat across from 3 alien beings, each different in form, yet all carrying the same aura of advanced intelligence. "Our coalition includes 17 spacefaring civilizations," the observer explained. "We have studied your world for decades. Your technological progress is impressive." Dr. Ji-hyun Kim, seated beside Tae-won, leaned forward. "Why reveal yourselves now? Your species has reached a critical development stage. You have begun serious space exploration. Soon you will encounter others. Protocol requires assessment before such encounters." President Han Byeo-lee, representing the UN Security Council, spoke carefully. "Assessment of what, exactly?" The observer's lights pulsed slowly. "Your capacity for coexistence. Your species is unusual." "How so?" asked Ji-hyun. "Your fascination with conflict. Your entertainment glorifies violence. Your history celebrates warriors. Your economies thrive on competition. This is rare among intelligent species." The room fell silent. Tae-won noticed how the aliens watched their reactions, studying them like specimens. In the following weeks, Concordat representatives established bases in major cities. They shared limited information about galactic civilization while studying human society more closely. Tae-won was assigned as liaison to the Seoul delegation, where he worked closely with Ji-hyun. "They're judging us," Ji-hyun said one evening as they reviewed cultural exchange data. "But they're not sharing their criteria." "They seem particularly interested in our wars," Tae-won noted. "They've requested our military histories going back centuries. Yet they avoid questions about their own conflicts," Ji-hyun added. "I wonder if they've had any." 6 months after first contact, the Concordat called for a formal meeting with Earth's leadership. Tae-won and Ji-hyun joined the human delegation once again. The observer stood before them, its crystalline body glowing more intensely than before. "The Concordat Council has reached a decision regarding humanity." President Lee straightened in her chair. "And what is that decision?" "Your species shows potential, but your relationship with conflict concerns us deeply. No spacefaring species can be permitted to spread warlike tendencies to the stars." "We've maintained peace for decades," argued the European representative. "Yet you prepare for war constantly," countered the observer. "Your nations maintain armies even in peacetime. Your children play at violence. Your histories glorify conquest." Tae-won stepped forward. "With respect, conflict has driven our progress. Competition fuels innovation." "Perhaps," the observer conceded. "But the Concordat must be certain you can handle conflict appropriately before granting full galactic citizenship." "What are you proposing?" President Lee asked. "A test. Humanity will participate in our standard assessment protocol, a controlled conflict scenario with other species at similar development stages." "You want us to fight for your entertainment?" Ji-hyun's voice carried an edge. "Not entertainment. Evaluation. The scenario involves resource competition on a neutral moon. Violence is permitted but costly. The goal is efficient resolution. And if we refuse? Asked President Lee. The observer's lights darkened slightly. Then you have failed already. Earth would be placed under quarantine until evolutionary changes render your violent tendencies obsolete, approximately 50,000 years. The human delegation requested time to confer. In a private room, heated debate erupted. This is nothing but a trap, argued the Russian representative. We have no choice, countered President Lee. Quarantine would end human space exploration before it truly begins. Taewon studied the briefing materials. The test seems designed to reveal our worst tendencies. But what if we approach it differently? When they returned, President Lee addressed the observer directly. Humanity accepts your challenge. We will demonstrate that our understanding of conflict gives us unique insights into peace. The observer's lights pulsed rapidly. Excellent. Your delegation will depart in 30 days. As they left the chamber, Taewon whispered to Ji-hyun, they wanted conflict. They're about to learn why that might have been a mistake. The transport ship carrying Earth's delegation emerged from faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Through the viewport, Colonel Sang-min Cho observed their destination, a cratered moon orbiting a massive gas giant streaked with swirls of purple and gold. It's beautiful, whispered negotiator Dae Young Kong, who stood beside him. And valuable, Sang-min replied. Those surface formations suggest rare mineral deposits. The human team consisted of 20 carefully selected individuals, soldiers, diplomats, scientists, and strategists. They had trained together for 30 days, studying everything the Concordat had shared about the other participating species. Their Concordat guide, a tall insectoid being named Overseer, directed their ship to land in a designated zone marked with blue lights. 5 other landing areas were visible across the moon's surface, each lit with different colored markers. Welcome to Evaluation Site Lambda, Overseer announced. Your habitat dome will deploy automatically. The assessment begins at local dawn, approximately 6 Earth hours from now. After the dome inflated, the team gathered around a holographic display showing the moon's surface. The area was roughly 500 square kilometers, divided into sectors containing various mineral deposits. Remember, Sang-min addressed his team, this isn't about military victory. It's about demonstrating our approach to conflict resolution. Dr. Ji-hyun activated her scanner. Based on atmospheric readings, I can identify our competitors. The northern zone houses the collective, a hive mind species. Southeast are the architects, methodical builders. Southwest shows signs of the guardians, territorial defenders. The far eastern zone holds the drift, nomadic traders. And the central zone appears to host the observers, analytical strategists. Dae Young studied the biological profiles. Each species has evolved a single approach to conflict. The collective overwhelms with numbers. The architects construct elaborate defenses. The guardians aggressively mark territory. The drift avoid direct conflict through constant movement. The observers analyze patterns to predict opponent moves. While humans, Sang-min noted, have developed all these strategies and more. That's our advantage. The team worked through the night, developing a plan unlike anything the Concordat would expect. As dawn broke across the moon's horizon, they split into 3 distinct groups. Team Alpha, led by Sang-min, would project strength and aggression while actually avoiding direct conflict, a distraction force. Team Beta, under Dae Young's leadership, would establish communication with other species, seeking mutually beneficial arrangements. Team Gamma, directed by Ji-hyun, would analyze the moon's resources and identify optimal extraction points. The assessment began with a simple announcement from Overseer: secure and extract the most resources within 30 days. Unnecessary violence will count against your final evaluation. Sang-min's team moved quickly toward a promising sector near the center of the map. They encountered a group of guardians, large reptilian beings who immediately displayed territorial threat postures. Instead of engaging, Sang-min ordered a surprising maneuver. Fall back slowly. Make it look like we're intimidated, but leave obvious scanner equipment behind. The guardians claimed the sector, believing they had driven the humans away. They didn't notice the small devices mapping their movements and communications. Meanwhile, Dae-Young's team approached the drift, a species of floating gas-filled beings who constantly moved across the landscape. "We propose an exchange," Dae-Young communicated through a translator. "Your species excels at exploration. Ours excels at security. Share your survey data, and we'll protect your extraction teams." The drift, who constantly suffered raids from the Guardians, considered the offer. After brief deliberation, they agreed. Ji-hyun's analysis team discovered something unexpected. The richest deposits aren't where they appear to be. The Concordat has created a false reading in this central sector. The truly valuable resources are scattered in these 5 smaller areas. This information changed everything. While other species fought over the obvious central deposit, the humans could quietly secure the truly valuable areas. By the end of the first week, the Concordat observers were visibly confused by human tactics. The team seemed to operate without consistent patterns. They would aggressively claim one area, only to abandon it days later. They would retreat from confrontations, then boldly establish operations in difficult terrain. "Your approach is unusual," Overseer commented to Sangmin during a routine check-in. "Humans adapt," Sangmin replied simply. "We don't follow a single strategy." The Concordat's confusion grew when they discovered the humans had established communication channels with 3 competing species. Such cross-species cooperation had never occurred in previous assessments. "They're watching us more closely now," Ji-hyun reported, noticing increased Concordat monitoring drones. "I don't think this is going according to their expectations." "Good," Dae-Young said with a slight smile. "If they wanted predictable, they shouldn't have invited humans." As the second week began, Sangmin gathered his team leaders. "The other species are starting to notice our success. The architects have requested a meeting. The Guardians are avoiding direct confrontation with us. And the collective seems to be mimicking our extraction patterns. We're changing the game," Ji-hyun observed. "That's exactly what worries me," Sangmin replied. "I'm not sure the Concordat is prepared for a species that refuses to play by their rules." The dawn of the third assessment week brought new challenges. Dae-Young stood at the edge of the human camp, watching as crystalline creatures approached the architects. Their bodies reflected the pale sunlight in geometric patterns as they moved with precise, measured steps. "We observe your methods with interest," the lead architect communicated through a translation device. "You do not follow consistent patterns." Dae-Young smiled. "Humans find strength in flexibility. We adapt to circumstances rather than forcing circumstances to adapt to us." The architect's crystalline body shifted colors slightly. "This is inefficient. Our calculations show a 34% resource loss in your approach." "Perhaps by your metrics," Dae-Young replied. "But our goals may differ from yours." This conversation, like many others Dae-Young had initiated with the competing species, served a purpose beyond simple diplomacy. Each interaction revealed valuable information about how these aliens thought, what they valued, and how they might react to unexpected situations. Back at the main camp, Ji-hyun made a discovery that changed their strategy completely. "The collective communicates using chemical signals," she explained to Sangmin, pointing to data readings from their sensors. "These patterns here, they're like pheromone trails. They mark safe paths, danger zones, and resource locations." Sangmin studied the patterns. "Can we replicate them?" Ji-hyun held up a small device. "Already working on it. We can create synthetic versions of their danger signal to redirect them away from areas we want to claim." This discovery exemplified the humans' approach, not merely competing with the other species but understanding them deeply enough to predict and influence their behavior. Meanwhile, Team Alpha executed a bold maneuver. They deliberately abandoned a resource-rich sector they had spent days securing, making it appear as though they had exhausted the area. The Guardians quickly moved in to claim it, not realizing the humans had extracted only 30% of the available resources using a method that disguised their activities. "They'll waste days setting up their standard extraction process," Sangmin explained to his team. "By the time they realize the area is still viable, we'll have secured 3 smaller but collectively richer sectors." The human strategy of deliberate sacrifices confused the alien participants. No other species willingly gave up claimed territory or resources. On day 15, an unexpected development occurred. The Guardians, impressed by human tactical flexibility, sent an envoy to the human camp. "Your kind fights without fighting," the Guardian representative, a muscular reptilian being, stated. "We respect this. The architects crowd our traditional territories. The collective threatens our supply routes. We propose alliance." This was unprecedented in the history of Concordat assessments. Species typically competed until one dominated or resources were depleted. Alliance building had never emerged. Sangman accepted the proposal with clear terms. The Guardians would protect human extraction operations from collective incursions while humans would share advanced extraction techniques that would benefit both species. The Concordat observers watched these developments with increasing concern. During their daily monitoring, Overseer questioned Sangman directly. "These alliances are unusual," Overseer noted, mandibles clicking with what appeared to be agitation. "The assessment is designed to measure independent performance." "You said to secure resources efficiently," Sangman replied calmly. "You didn't specify how. Cooperation with potential competitors is unexpected. For humans, competition and cooperation exist on the same spectrum," Sangman explained. "Sometimes the best way to handle conflict is to transform it into collaboration." That evening, an emergency meeting was called among the Concordat observers. Though they spoke in their native language, Jihyun had placed small translation devices nearby. "This was meant to reveal their primitive nature," one observer said. "Instead, they demonstrate advanced conflict management beyond expected parameters. They employ psychological tactics," another noted. "They appear weak where they are strong. They retreat to advance elsewhere. They sacrifice short-term gains for long-term advantage." "Most concerning," said a third voice, "they build relationships across species boundaries." This was not anticipated in the assessment design. The senior observer's voice carried a tone of finality. "Change the parameters. Introduce an unexpected factor. We must see how they respond to true pressure." The next morning, all species received a new directive: assessment parameters updated. All existing alliances are forbidden. Resources already claimed require recertification through direct competition. This rule change takes effect immediately. The human team gathered to discuss this development. Unlike the other species who responded with confusion or anger, the humans analyzed the situation calmly. "They're changing their own rules," Dae-young observed. "This isn't standard procedure." Ji-hyun nodded. "The Concordat seems threatened by our approach." "Or they're testing how we handle unexpected changes," suggested another team member. Sangman considered all perspectives before speaking. "Whether this is part of the test or a reaction to our success doesn't matter. We adapt." He turned to Dae-young. "Maintain contact with our allies, but make it appear we've severed ties. Use the emergency encryption protocols that Drift taught us." To Ji-hyun he said, "Accelerate resource extraction in our secure zones. I suspect we won't have the full 30 days they promised." As the team dispersed to implement these new directives, Sangman looked up at the Concordat observation post hovering above the moon's surface. "They demanded conflict," he murmured. "But they never specified what kind of conflict. That was their mistake." Ji-hyun worked through the night, analyzing strange patterns in the Concordat's communications. The aliens thought their encrypted transmissions were secure, but they hadn't accounted for human ingenuity. Using modified versions of equipment designed to detect the collective's chemical signals, Ji-hyun had captured fragments of data that didn't make sense until now. "Colonel Cho," she called urgently as dawn broke across the lunar landscape. "I need you to see this." Sangman entered the research tent where Ji-hyun had spread data visualizations across multiple screens. "I've decoded parts of their internal communications," she explained, pointing to translated text. "These aren't tests. They're containment protocols." Sangman leaned closer, eyes scanning the information. "Explain." Look at these classifications. Jihyun highlighted different sections. 17 species listed as successfully moderated. 3 classified as necessarily restricted. 2 marked as regrettably eliminated. They're categorizing threat levels, Sangmin muttered. Exactly. The Concordat isn't testing us to welcome us into their community. They're determining how to handle us. Jihyun brought up another screen. I found records of previous assessments. Species that show too much independence or unpredictability are isolated or worse. And those who pass their tests become subservient members. Their development carefully guided to never threaten Concordat dominance. Sangmin's expression hardened. We need to contact Earth immediately. Jihyun shook her head. I already tried. All communications to Earth have been blocked since the rule change. We're on our own. Dae-young joined them, bringing more troubling news. The Guardians attempted to maintain our alliance secretly. The Concordat responded by restricting their resource access. They're being punished for cooperating with us. Sangmin paced the small tent. So we're not just competing for some moon. We're fighting for Earth's future, and the futures of all these species. That evening, Sangmin gathered the entire human team. Under the dome of their habitat, with equipment checked for monitoring devices, he explained the true nature of their situation. The Concordat fears species with our potential, he concluded. They've been stunting galactic development for who knows how long. Any civilization that might challenge their dominance is controlled or eliminated. So what's our move? Asked a team member. Fight them directly? We're outnumbered and outgunned. No, Dae-young interjected. We do what humans do best, we build connections. Using encryption techniques taught by the Drift, Dae-young established secret communication channels with the other tested species. One by one, he revealed the Concordat's true purpose. For generations, they've been culling the galaxy of independent thinkers, he explained to representatives from each species. Any civilization that might challenge their dominance is neutralized before it can truly develop. The reactions varied. The collective initially rejected the information, unwilling to process ideas that contradicted established patterns. The architects demanded proof, which Jihyun provided through decoded transmissions. The Guardians immediately believed it, their natural suspicion of outsiders finally justified. The Drift had already suspected something similar, having encountered strange gaps in their explorations of supposedly empty systems. The observers were the last to be convinced, but when they analyzed the evidence, they reached the same conclusion: the Concordat had been manipulating developing species for millennia. Slowly, reluctantly, the competing species began discussing cooperation. In secret meetings held in electromagnetic shielded caves discovered by the Drift, representatives formed the foundation of an unprecedented alliance. We all bring different strengths, Sangmin told the gathered aliens. The architects can build structures the Concordat won't detect. The collective can share information rapidly across great distances. The Guardians can provide protection. The Drift know the moon's hidden passages. The observers can predict Concordat responses. And what do humans bring? Asked the Guardian representative. Dae-young smiled. Strategy. The ability to combine all these different approaches into something new. Over the next week, a true resistance formed. While maintaining the appearance of competition on the surface, the species worked together underground. The architects constructed hidden communication hubs. The collective formed living information networks. The Guardians established security protocols. The Drift mapped escape routes. The observers analyzed Concordat vulnerabilities. And the humans coordinated it all, drawing on thousands of years of experience with both conflict and cooperation. When a Concordat inspection team arrived unexpectedly at the human camp, they found nothing suspicious. The inspection leader, a tall crystalline being, studied Sangmin carefully. Your resource acquisition has slowed considerably since the rule change, the inspector noted. Sangmin shrugged. We're adapting to the new parameters. Humans are resilient that way. The final evaluation approaches. The Concordat Council will arrive in 3 days to deliver their judgment. We look forward to it, Sangmin replied evenly. After the inspection team departed, Dae-young joined Sangmin at the viewport. 3 days to prepare. Will it be enough time? Sangmin asked. It has to be, Dae-young answered. For Earth and every other developing world in this galaxy. Below their feet, in tunnels carved beneath the lunar surface, 5 different species practiced something the Concordat had never anticipated: true cooperation born from understanding conflict. The Concordat Council arrived with appropriate ceremony. 7 crystalline beings of varying colors and complexities emerged from a vessel that dwarfed all others on the moon's surface. They assembled in the central evaluation chamber, a transparent dome where representatives from all tested species were summoned to hear the final judgment. Sangmin led the human delegation into the chamber. Behind him walked Jihyun and Dae-young, their faces showing appropriate respect but not subservience. As they entered, they noted representatives from the other species already arranged in a semicircle before the council. The senior observer stepped forward, its body pulsing with blue-white light. The assessment period has concluded. The Concordat will now deliver evaluation results for each participating species. But before the observer could continue, Sangmin moved to the center of the chamber. This was not part of the protocol. The Concordat representatives shifted, their crystalline bodies flickering with what appeared to be surprise or concern. Before you announce your judgments, Sangmin said calmly, we would like to present our findings. This is not the process, the senior observer stated. Neither was changing assessment rules midway, Sangmin countered. Yet you did. The chamber fell silent. Then, at a signal from Sangmin, representatives from each tested species stepped forward to join him. The Guardian, the Architect, the Observer, the Drift, and the Collective all standing together. What is the meaning of this? Demanded the senior observer. Dae-young stepped forward. We understand your fear, he addressed the council directly. You encountered our history and saw only the violence. You studied our entertainment and saw only conflict. Your species glorifies warfare, the senior observer replied. All evidence confirms this conclusion. You misunderstand the nature of human conflict, Jihyun explained. Our wars taught us to value peace. Our competitions drive us to cooperate. Sangmin gestured around the chamber. This assessment was designed to prove humanity's dangerous nature. Instead, it revealed something else entirely. At his signal, Jihyun activated a holographic display showing the decoded Concordat records. These are your classifications for 17 successfully moderated species, 3 necessarily restricted species, and 2 regrettably eliminated species. The council members' lights pulsed rapidly in what appeared to be alarm. Where did you obtain this data? Demanded one council member. Your security was designed to prevent individual species from accessing it, Jihyun explained. But you never anticipated species working together to overcome your safeguards. For generations, you've been stunting galactic development, Dae-young continued. Any civilization showing true independence is controlled or eliminated. You maintain order through suppression of diversity. The senior observer's voice hardened. We maintain peace. Previous galactic civilizations destroyed themselves through unchecked conflict. We prevent history from repeating. No, Sangmin replied firmly. You prevent growth. Real stability comes from diversity, not control. The representative from the Architect stepped forward, its crystalline structure gleaming. We have analyzed the Concordat's methods. They are fundamentally flawed. Suppressing evolutionary paths creates brittleness, not strength. The Guardian representative growled agreement. You fear what you cannot control. This is weakness, not wisdom. One by one, representatives from each species presented evidence of the Concordat's manipulation. The chamber filled with translations as 5 different languages conveyed a single message: the Concordat's rule through fear had outlived its purpose. The council members conferred among themselves, their lights pulsing in patterns too complex for the translation systems to interpret. Finally, the senior observer addressed the assembled species. What do you propose? It asked, its tone notably less commanding than before. Sangmin had prepared for this moment. Not destruction. Not revenge. We propose a new arrangement, a true council where all species, regardless of development stage, have representation. Chaos would result, objected a council member. Or innovation, countered Ji Hyun. The problems you've been unable to solve for millennia might find solutions through diverse perspectives. We could have united the tested species against you, Sangmin explained. We could have started a war right here, right now. Our combined knowledge of your systems would have given us an advantage. Instead, we're offering partnership. Why? Asked the senior observer, genuine curiosity in its voice. Because humans understand both war and peace, Dae-young answered. We've experienced the worst of conflict and the best of cooperation. That's why we can build something better, because we know exactly what's at stake. The council retreated to deliberate. For 3 hours, the tested species waited. When the Concordat finally returned, the senior observer's light had dimmed to a softer glow. We demanded conflict to test your capacity for peace, it addressed the humans directly. Instead, you showed us our own limitations. The Concordat accepts your proposal. 3 months later, Earth hosted the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. Taewon Park, now Earth's first galactic ambassador, welcomed representatives from 37 species, including many the Concordat had previously restricted. Standing before the assembled delegates, Taewon spoke simply, "Today marks the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. One built not on fear of difference, but celebration of it. One that understands that true strength comes not from eliminating conflict, but from learning to resolve it together." As former enemies became allies around the table, Taewon knew humanity had passed a test far more important than the one the Concordat had designed. They had proven that understanding conflict was the first step toward lasting peace.